Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by the European Pain Federation, EFIC. We're here to talk about how to submit an abstract to EFIC 2025, which is our upcoming Congress taking place in April next year in beautiful Lyon in France. And I'm about to start my presentation, introduce the speakers that we have, and then I'll pass over to them. My name is Melinda. I am the Communications Manager for the European Pain Federation, EFIC. I invite you to ask as many questions as you want. You can use the questions module here directly in Zoom, and we will definitely have some time at the end of this to answer any questions. Okay, let me start the presentation. Perfect. So welcome to our webinar. We are joined by three wonderful speakers, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves. Andre, why don't you go first?
Yeah, okay. So I'm André Moreau. I'm a neuroscientist. I'm a clinical neurologist by training. I work at UC Louvain in Brussels, Belgium, where I had a research group that's interested in nociceptive processing in humans. So basically human research on physiological and pathological pain perception. And I'm also the chair of the scientific program committee here for EFIC 2025. And so that's why I'm here today, actually, so to try to explain maybe or give some further explanations on how to submit an abstract and maybe also why to submit an abstract.
That sounds great. Madeleine, how about you?
So hello, everyone. My name is Madeleine. I'm a PhD student in neuroscience at the University of Zurich and at the Balgrist University Hospital. I'm doing my PhD with Petra Schweinhardt. Maybe some of you know her. And I'm especially interested in neuroimaging and neuromodulation. And I'm also a member of the SPC for the EFIC 2025.
Wonderful. And you, Sabrina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina. I'm also a PhD student in my last year at the University of Vienna in Austria. And I'm mainly focused on chronic neuropathic pain and the impact of sex and age on protein alterations. And yeah, as you can see on the slide, I'm also SPC member for the EFIC 2025 because I won the oral communication prize last year or last EFIC in 2023.
Correct, and that's the same for Madeleine. So as you can see, both of them actually have previously submitted an abstract, presented a poster, and did a fabulous job, which is why they actually won Oral Communication Prize winner for Best Poster Presented. And that's why we thought it would be really great to have them in this webinar as well. So you can ask questions of people who have gone through this process before. All right, I'll give over now to Andre, who can tell you a little bit more about the basics of abstract submission.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, first of all, yeah, as you just mentioned, so we have two PhD students that are also member of the scientific program committee, and I think they are probably the best persons to give you some advice on how to format and write your abstract, because it's actually based on the quality of their abstract that they were pre-selected for an oral communication, and then due to the excellent quality of their presentation, they then received the oral communication prize. But so. Yeah, so what's an abstract? I guess maybe most of you are familiar with that, but maybe for those that are maybe a bit more junior, so the abstract is basically a short paragraph which will be available on the scientific program. It will be published within the scientific program, so it's actually a publication that then remains available, and it's basically a paragraph that's summarizing the work that you will be presenting in your poster. And so it has a structure that is similar to the abstract of a paper. And so it has a structure with an introduction, which should provide some background, some state-of-the-art information on the subject, but really focusing on what's key for your research question. And that introduction should also end with a statement of your research question. What's the objective of the work that you perform? What question is it trying to address? Then we come to the methods and the results section. So you see it's really the same structure as an abstract or a scientific paper. So the methods section, of course, must be very short, but it should provide the key elements to be able to understand a bit how you try to answer your research questions, how you try to address this question. So it cannot be exhaustive due to the space limitation, of course, but the key elements should be there. Which techniques did you use? What were the conditions? What the participants that you recruited? Things like that. Same thing for the results. It's not possible to be exhaustive in the abstract itself, but the idea is to summarize the main findings. So what did you observe, and to try to do it in a quantitative way, so that we can actually assess, okay, what was the outcome? What was the outcome of your work? And basically, the methods and the results sections are typically written in a relatively blunt fashion. So it's really trying to be very clear on what you did and what you observed. And then the abstract closes with a conclusion discussion, which can be open, because sometimes, often, actually, the results of your work can only partially answer the question, or they raise additional questions. So basically, it should state what we can conclude, but really based on the results that you obtain. So it's important to, I think, to remain focused on what was your research question and how can you interpret the results that you obtained. And so this, I think, maybe a way of seeing how to write your abstract is maybe to try to imagine how you will be browsing the scientific program and browsing the abstracts to decide which posters you want to see. So it's also in a way a bit of an advertisement. So it should be written in such a way that people that are interested in the topic of your research or that are using similar methods will actually flag that abstract and go see your poster. Of course, then in the poster itself, you have more space. Space is also limited. There is less space, of course, less room to provide details than in a scientific paper, but you have then the possibility to develop and to better explain. So as it's written here on the slide, the abstract is really a glimpse of your poster, and the poster is the final product, which doesn't need to contain all the details, because that's also sometimes difficult if the poster is too crowded. And the poster itself should also be the poster is not self-standing. There is also the oral presentation of the poster, and so the poster should support what you will be explaining to people that will be visiting your poster. Maybe the next slide, Melinda. Yes, maybe some specific information for EFIC 2025. So the 14th Congress for Pain in Europe. So we have a general topic for the Congress. It doesn't mean that everything that will be presented will be specifically related to that topic, but the idea is to emphasize and put forward and develop a given topic during the Congress, and to emphasize that both within the workshops, within the plenary sessions, and also it's, I think, then useful to try to emphasize and promote posters that are also developing aspects to that topic. And so the topic for EFIC 2025 that was chosen is comorbidity of chronic pain and mental health disorders, breaking the cycle. The topic was selected on the one hand because it's timely, because if we consider the European mental health strategy, so it's, I think, an important topic to address the question of the relationship between mental health and chronic pain, also in terms of comorbidities. And it's also a topic that can be addressed in many different ways, going from very basic research, translational research, research in healthy volunteers, and also clinical studies. So that's the overarching topic for EFIC 2025. But of course, it doesn't mean that your poster should necessarily be related to that topic. But if it is, let's say it's a plus, because this is a topic that we are emphasizing during the Congress. Posters can be placed in 3 categories: basic research, translational, and clinical. And then they are also grouped by subtopics or subcategories, or also according to whether they are included in a poster walk, as I will explain in the next slide. So you see there are 3 main categories, and then there are subtopics and subcategories, and that's a bit up to you to decide where your poster would fit best. Maybe the next slide. So to prepare the abstract, you can find that also on the website. Well, obviously the abstract must be submitted in English. It's important for the grammar and the spelling to be accurate and correct, because it is a publication that will be available during the Congress and will remain available and published. So don't hesitate to have it proofread if you're not a native English speaker, to have it proofread or to use proofreading tools. And then you will need information like the presenting author's full name, title, field of practice, contact information. When you will be submitting your abstract, you will also be asked to indicate whether the presenting author, so the author that will present the poster during the Congress, completed his PhD within the last 5 years. We ask that question because we prioritize some activities related to the posters to more junior researchers, such as the poster walks and oral poster communications, and also the poster prizes. So that is something that is taken into consideration by the SPC. And then you also need, of course, to include details of all the co-authors and contact information. Yes, next slide. Yes, again, some practical things. So before submitting via the online platform, I think it's easier if you prepare what is needed before actually starting to enter things into the online submission system. So you will need an abstract title, the abstract body, as I mentioned, of which I described the content, and it must be structured using the following structure: background and names, methods, results, and conclusion. And you can also include tables and figures, so up to 3 tables and 3 images or figures that will also be available then in the abstract book, or the online version, more, I would say, of the abstract book. Maybe, yeah, the last point is actually an important one, because we've reviewed already the abstracts from the first call, and so it's important to consider that the people that are attending EFIC, it's quite a multidisciplinary group with very varying expertise, and so it's important that you use only standard abbreviations, and that if you are using an abbreviation or a term that is specific to really a specific domain of expertise, to define it and explain it. Else it's difficult for people that are not necessarily experts in your specific field. It's difficult for them to actually understand the abstract. And so I think it's important to make sure that it is understandable to a more wider scientific or clinical audience beyond your specific topic of expertise, because that is something that we noted in some of the submissions that we received, that was not always the case. Maybe next slide. Okay, so why submit an abstract to EFIC 2025? Well, first, because I think the Congress will be a very nice Congress, a very interesting Congress. So it's a nice opportunity to attend and to actively engage in the Congress. So yeah, as it's stated here, it's an opportunity to present your research. We are doing quite a lot of effort to try to make sure that the poster presentation experience, or the poster sessions, that they work well, and that there is sufficient, that the way they are done allows a rich exchange, and we hope there will be good discussions during the poster presentation sessions. For example, one of the things we are implementing in EFIC 2025 is, so poster walks were already organized at the previous EFIC congresses, but here we are trying to organize topical poster walks on a given topic, which will be a sort of an extension of an existing workshop within the Congress. So the idea is there are 2 reasons behind this decision. First, we think that this will allow to extend the discussions after a workshop session beyond the Q&A session, but we also think that then we will have poster walks that will be organized and shared by experts in the topic, because these will be the chairs, the presenters of the workshop. And we also hope that since this will be advertised during the workshops, the people that will sign up for a given poster walk will be people that have a high interest in that topic. And so we expect, or we hope, our aim is really to promote rich discussions that will be of interest both for the poster presenters and the poster attendees. Something that was already present also at the previous Congress is there will be poster prizes. The poster prizes, the selection process is a two-stage process. So there is a pre-selection of posters that are eligible for the poster prize based on the quality of the abstract. So that's why it's important to have, put some effort in the writing of the abstract. And then there will be poster presentations during dedicated for the selection of the poster prizes during the conference itself. And so the poster prize will be dependent both on the quality of the abstract, but also the quality of the poster, the quality of the poster presentation, and the answers to the questions, the discussion during the poster presentations. So that will be distinct from the poster walks. We also plan to have oral communication sessions. So this is something we also had at the previous EFIC congresses, but in the previous EFIC congresses, they were organized as a specific session dedicated to short oral communications of poster abstracts. Here we are trying to do this a bit differently again, to try to better link the poster presentations with the rest of the Congress, and also to make sure that for each oral poster communication, there will be an audience that has a strong interest in the topic of the poster. And so what we are in the process of implementing are short oral communications that will be embedded within some of the workshops during the Congress. And so the way this works, again, is that there is a pre-selection of abstracts that are eligible for an oral communication based on the quality of the abstract and the interest of what is announced to be presented within that abstract. And so for these, from these pre-selected abstracts, we will then select, depending also on the available workshops, who will be offered an oral communication. And this is something that we will do when we review all the abstracts that we have received for this call. There will be other opportunities for poster networking during different sessions, like the welcome reception. You will be, as I mentioned, included in the abstract book, so it's a publication that remains. And of course, you will receive a certificate for your poster presentation. And as I mentioned, we are trying to make sure that the poster presentation sessions themselves have a dedicated area, a dedicated time, and that there aren't too many distractions of concurring things during the poster presentation sessions. Maybe the next slide. Yes, I think I've covered most of that already, but so yeah, it's really important to be clear and concise. So don't be vague. Don't start your abstract by saying your aim is to better understand pain. That's too vague. Don't hesitate to be specific, to be clear and concise. Again, the importance of accurate grammar and spelling, and also of clarity, to follow the structure of the abstract with the background and aims, methods, results, and conclusion sections that I mentioned previously. Again, I insist on using standard abbreviations and defining any uncommon terms upon first use to make sure that the abstract is understandable for all attendees of EFIC. And yeah, take some time to select the topic that most closely relates to your poster, to make sure that you end up in an area of the poster presentation session that will include other posters related to the same topic. Again, some practical aspects. So only abstracts that were accepted from registered presenters will be included in the final program, and so it's mandatory for poster presenters to attend the Congress to present their posters. That's quite important. Maybe the next slide, but maybe it's yes. Yeah, so the deadline, 25th of November, midnight, or 1 minute before midnight, if I have to relieve that slide. Yeah, again, make sure that there are no grammar spelling errors. So do consider peer review before submission. Using non-generic drug names, so stick to generic names and standard abbreviations. I mentioned that already. You cannot, but I don't think you were intending to do so, submit by email or fax. So you have to submit through the online submission system. And also take care of, be aware of plagiarism. So make sure the abstract has not been published or presented as it is, as a copy paste of what was published in the abstract book of another conference. Yes, maybe the next slide. I think now we move to.
Yeah, I will continue now.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, thanks.
So I want to give you now some advice which helped me writing a successful abstract and hopefully will help you too. So in my opinion, it can be very overwhelming to start writing. So for me, it's like always this moment of staring at a blank page and I don't know where to start. So therefore, my first advice is to not aim for perfection in your first draft. So it's really important that you first get into the writing process, write your ideas down without worrying about writing perfect sentences or worrying about the word limitation, etc. So once you have that first draft, it's then easier to revise and refine it. And I think a very useful technique for writing an abstract is or can be the funnel approach. So it's like kind of you start with describing a broader context, the background of your field, and then you narrow it down to your specific research question. Because this guides the reader and helps to understand where your work fits into a bigger picture and also why it's relevant. From there, I think it's important to talk about the key message. So this is the thing you want readers to remember most about your work. Imagine that we read your abstract and we can only take away one point from it. What should it be? So you really need to have a clear key message, and then your abstract will be much more memorable and also impactful. Another point which I think is super important is also to consider what your work what makes your work unique. So how does your work fill a specific knowledge gap and why is it important? And you should really make sure that this message is conveyed with your abstract. And as André already also said, for me, a strong abstract focuses on on some core points. So for example, 1, 2, 3 core points. So the abstract should really give a good overview of your work, but it shouldn't be packed with like all the details. So you really try to limit it down to the to the essentials. So really focus on those core points. And then when you've built a strong first draft, you also need to edit that. So you need to take some time to edit your abstract. And I want to give you some advice also for doing this to make it as clear and precise as possible. So first of all, I think you should ensure comprehensibility. So meaning that a good abstract should be understandable on its own. So you ask yourself, can someone from outside my immediate field understand what I'm trying to tell? So can him or her understand what I'm doing and why it's important without giving any additional information? And if that's not the case, you might need to rewrite it. Next, what I want to give you as an advice is also to check if every sentence has a value. So every line in your abstract should contribute meaningful to your message. And you should avoid sentences that merely repeat ideas or add unnecessary information. And for this step, I really sometimes divide my abstract visually into single lines. And then I ask myself in every line, is this sentence or is it giving me information, necessary information? And is it driving the main point forward? And if not, I consider rephrasing or cutting it even out. Yeah, another point which I want to mention is also to maintain kind of a reading flow. So it's crucial that in your abstract, your sentences are connected logically. So this guides the reader smoothly from one idea to the next. And it makes your abstract way easier to read and keeps also the reader engaged about your abstract. And to make your abstract clearer, it's important also to replace filler words. So filler words and these vague terms often dilute your message, and you need to try to be as specific and clear as possible. So a very common example is like when you want to describe your results, and you want to say that something changed, describe how it changed, describe if it's, I don't know, increased, decreased, or something like that. So it's very simple, but has a big impact on your abstract. And then I think it's also very important to take some time for revising and refining your abstract. So writing can always benefit from a fresh perspective. And after you've written your first draft, you need to take a break and clear your mind, and then come back maybe even on the next day to your abstract and start with a fresh eye, and thereby you can catch mistakes which you might have missed the other day. And lastly, for me, it's also important to ask my colleagues or supervisor or whoever you can ask for some feedback, because they can often provide some new perspective and may notice things you haven't considered yet. And not only can they notice mistakes, but they can also, or you can also ask them afterwards, after they read your abstract, what they think the key message of your abstract is. And if it's not the same as what you want it to be, then you might consider rephrasing it. And when we talk about help and asking colleagues, it's also important to say that you can, or you're allowed to use different AI tools for this section. So you can use some tools, for example, some AI tools for sentence suggestions, or from finding some synonyms, for translating, for example, if you're not a native English speaker, or also for shortening your abstract if it's too long, which happens a lot to me sometimes, or also for proofreading. However, what you shouldn't do is using AI tools for writing whole sections of your abstract, or in general content creation. Yeah, I hope those tips helped you in writing a strong abstract that captures your research, and I'm very much looking forward to read them.
So I guess it's me taking over now, and I will quickly share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. Then I just have to start the presentation. Yeah. Okay. So next, I would like to give you a little overview what happens with your abstract as soon as we receive it. Or in short, I will just give you an overview on how this review process works. And I hope this will help you a bit to shape your abstract. So we, as the SPSOE, so the Scientific Program Committee, of course, we also all come with different backgrounds and with different interests. And when we receive your abstract will be forwarded to 3 to 4 different reviewers who all have a similar interest in what you are looking at. So you can be sure that your abstract will go to someone who's at least from a similar field, uses similar methods. So let's say kind of an expert. And what we will do then when we receive your abstract is the following. So first, we will be asked to check if your abstract contains results. And I've seen there was already one question regarding results in the Q&A. So I guess hopefully this will be the answer to your question now. During the first submission round, it was allowed to submit abstracts with and without results. For the second submission round now, for the late breaking, we will only accept abstracts that contain results. So for now, you will need to have results in your abstracts. The next step will be that we are supposed to check if there's an industry perspective. This is quite vague, so I want to take 2 things from that. First of all, you're always supposed to disclose any conflict of interest, to disclose any financial support, and we do not want to have posters that serve as an advertisement. But of course, every nice rigorously designed study will be accepted. Then one of the keys, we give an overall rating on quality. This rating can be from 0 to 5. And I will come a bit closer in how this rating will be done later. And then we are doing 2 recommendations. So the first recommendation will be whether or not this abstract is suitable for a prize. And secondly, we will give an overall recommendation on this abstract. And there are 3 different options which have 3 different results. So we consider your abstract as significant or useful research, which basically means we accept your abstract and you can present your work as a poster. Or we think this is actually outstanding, which means then we consider your abstract also for an oral communication. Or the third option would be to decline the abstract. And I guess at this point, you may ask, okay, but how do you get to your overall rating? How do you get to your recommendation? And I would like to give you a little outlook now, what I, as a reviewer, take care of, what is important for me. And of course, now you will hear quite a bit of overlap with what Sabrina said before, with what Andre said before, but I hope I can give you a bit more like a reviewer perspective on that. So as we have the background and aims, as Andre has said before, it's important to state the basic knowledge, the basic background information that is necessary to understand your abstract, but it's as well important to also let us know what is not known yet. As Sabrina said, uniqueness is important, and we are supposed to evaluate if your abstract presents significant, useful research. And as I mentioned, we are from a similar field, may use similar methods, but it might be that we are not necessarily an expert on your specific topic and your specific literature. So you need to let us know that there's a gap in the literature that you, with your research, are filling. And secondly, it has also been said a lot, but I would like to stress that, keep in mind, it's called background and aims. So please do not forget to state a clear aim or a clear research question. About the methods, I'm aware that there are very different methods, very specific methods, and you should be presenting the most important steps of your method section, but also keep in mind, again, we are from a similar field, so we might be interested in at least some of the details of your methods. Just as an example, I'm from the neuroimaging field. When I read an abstract and see that this work used the state of the art of the pre-processing or of the analysis, it already gives me a very good impression of this abstract. So it might be worth considering some of the specific analysis steps as well. Also, I don't have it on the slides, but what I would like to mention, and it's also maybe a bit something personal, because I'm, let's say, a little bit of a statistics nerd. I always like to see some statement of the statistic test or of the statistic analysis that was used. It already gives me a lot of information on if people really think through their work and through their analysis. And finally, about the methods, please make sure that the methods you're using and that you're describing are really suitable to answer your research question and also or to fulfill the aim that you're stating. So the methods really should fit the research question and the aim. About the results, something similar applies here. Make sure that everything that you're mentioning in your results has been previously explained in the method section. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand what you're telling us in the results. And as Andre already mentioned, you're allowed to use figures and tables. There are a few things I would like you to keep in mind. First of all, if you are a figure, then size matters. So make sure that your size is sufficiently large enough that we can read it. We also receive your abstract in some kind of an online form, which means that we cannot endlessly zoom in or something like that. So your figure should really be large enough, readable. But still, keep in mind that, or think about if your figure is really necessary. Figures come with some disadvantages. First of all, it needs some time to look at the figure, to get really the content of a figure. And keep in mind, we read quite a few abstracts. So we might not have the time to really look in so much detail as some of the figures would need. And also keep in mind, in contrast to written text, a figure always leaves some room for interpretation. And you might not want that. And finally, about the conclusion, and here I'm also repeating Andre again, it's really important that the conclusion, that what you say in the conclusion is really supported by the results. I'm aware that your abstract might be a tiny little bit of a huge project, and I fully understand that. But nevertheless, keep in mind that also your conclusion only refers to the tiny little bit that you're presenting to us. Yeah, and all this together then will bring us to our final recommendation. And each of the final recommendations together with an average grade will go back to the committee. And in the committee, then we will decide on whether to accept the abstract, whether this abstract is suitable for an oral communication, which is also mainly based on the overall grade, whether this abstract should be considered for a prize, and whether this abstract should be considered for a poster walk. And there's one last statement that I would like to make, especially about the poster walk, because as Andre previously said, we are having here topical poster works that refer to the topical workshops. So it could very well be that you're submitting a great abstract, a really good abstract, but it just doesn't make it into a poster work because it's kind of specific or doesn't really fit one of the topics that we have, or doesn't really fit one of the topical workshops. So not being part of the poster work doesn't necessarily mean that your abstract was not good or something like that, but it could really be an organizational reason. And that's already from my side. And I guess we are now finishing with the Q&A session. Is that correct?
Thank you. I see we have already a couple of questions in the Q&A. I guess we can go one by one. So yeah, so what if research is ongoing and results will be available after the deadline submission for abstracts? So I think that's been answered. I can maybe add maybe a couple of points. So indeed, so for the first call, as the call was still quite far away from the Congress, we actually actively encourage people to submit abstracts even if the work was not finished and the results were not yet available. And for those posters that were accepted, they now have the possibility to submit an updated version of their abstract in this second call. Here, this is the last call we will have for posters, so there will not be an opportunity to update the abstract. Now, I think it's still an option because we are still a few months away before the conference to submit an abstract where you have only partial results. So I think it would still be acceptable to have an abstract that explains what was done, that it maybe provides some preliminary results of what's already been analyzed and what we have so far, and that maybe explicitly states, okay, that what results will be available, what will be done, and what will be shown during the poster presentation. I think that's that's definitely acceptable. But what would not be acceptable would simply be a statement in the results section that says results will be available during the but without providing any info of what will be available. And it's probably important for you to evaluate also feasibility. So will you actually have those results by the conference? So I hope this answers. There is some room for flexibility. And I think if you have doubts, you shouldn't hesitate to actually drop an email and ask before you submit your poster. I don't know if someone wants to add something related to that question. There was a question in French. En plus de l'envoi de l'abstract, on peut donc y joindre un poster, which I can translate. Can we thus, in addition to submitting the abstract, submit a poster? The answer to that, I think, would be no. So as it was explained, there is the possibility to annex tables or figures to your abstract. It's definitely not mandatory to have supporting figures. I think what's most important is the abstract. In some cases, so you have to consider whether it's useful to have that in the abstract, because remember, the main content will be the poster itself. And so I would definitely not upload the poster as a figure. If you do upload a figure, it should be, I think, a limited figure, something that is really needed for the abstracts. Yeah, I can continue trying to answer questions, or maybe you want to. So, do you accept both qualitative and quantitative work? Definitely yes. So that there are no restrictions on that. Again, just be specific about what you did and how you did it and what were your methods. It was mentioned that only accepted abstracts from fully registered presenters will be included. What is meant by this? What is meant by a fully registered presenter? Okay, this is also maybe more a question for me. So what we mean by that is that once your abstract has been accepted, for it to be included in the abstract book and to be thus present in the program of the EFIC Congress, the presenting author must be present to present the poster. So it's not an option to have a poster that was accepted and then to give the poster to a colleague who will just hang it there at the poster session and no one will be physically present to present the poster. If the presenting author is not able to be present, another co-author can present the poster, but he has to be registered and thus present to present the poster. So that statement is really related to the fact that we occasionally do have some posters that are accepted, but then the presenters are not there for the presenter poster during the poster session. And of course, to be present at the Congress, you need to be registered to the Congress. How long does it take to receive a decision? My university only funds travel if the student is presenting, but I'm aware the registration fee increases before the abstract deadline. The decision after the SPC meeting is quite fast. When do we have the meeting for the SPC? I need to check the timeline, or maybe Melinda has it, but as I will check.
Well, I think the deadline is at the end of November. So I think decisions will not be made, or abstract submitters will not be notified this year. It's probably going to be early next year that abstract submitters of the late breaking round will be notified of their status of whether it's accepted or not.
Yeah, I hear in our Congress organization timeline, we mentioned notifications sent to late breaking abstract submitters. The deadline is the 31st of January. So that is the date, because the meeting to discuss the abstracts and to make the selection will be early January, after we've had also time to do all the offline reviewing process. So that's when you will have the information. Maybe, well, yeah, that's what I can say. So how extensive the abstract is supposed to be? Maybe someone else wants to answer that question. I don't want to write something long and boring, but
Maybe also in addition to the next question, which is there a word count limitation? So we have word count limitation. It's 250 words for the abstract plus title, I think 25 words, if I remember correctly now. So of course it has to fit into this word count limit. And yeah, how extensive the abstract is supposed to be is kind of difficult question, I think. So it, of course, as we said, should capture your research, should give a good overview of what you're doing about the different sections, so the background, aim, method, results, and discussion part, conclusion part also. So I think it's not long and boring when you write it like that. Maybe Madeleine, I don't know, you have...
Yeah, I guess just from the sheer word limit, you're not able to write something long, maybe something boring, but definitely you're not able to write something long. So 250 words, it's a bit less than a page. Yeah, I would say that it's important to really get the key messages for each section and to focus on your key messages, yeah.
I think if maybe as a tip, if you read it often, because you have to read it a lot of the time before submitting it, and you are bored by it, that's good hint for maybe rewriting it.
I see there was another question. Could we submit more than one abstract? So you can submit more than one abstract, and you could then be presenting more than one poster during the conference. And so what we do is that we, if you are presenting more than one poster, then we schedule the posters in different presentation sessions, because it's crucial that that you are actually present during the poster presentation session in front of your poster. So that's why we would then schedule it on different days so that you can be present for both posters. If it's not possible to schedule it in a different poster presentation session, or if you then we would ask you to indicate another presenting author. So if you are submitting many posters, more posters than we have poster sessions, then we would ask you to indicate another person that could present that poster if we are not able to put it in a different poster session. Our research is presenting results about a minimally invasive technique to improve sciatic-like pain and neurogenic claudication. There will be results about patients. So basically, we will not have a control group, only patients, and the results, which have been very encouraging, breaking the chronic pain. Yes. So what kind of method do you suggest? I guess yes. That's how you would frame your abstract and what you did. We also have posters actually also on case reports. So we're actually very open to different content. What's really important is to make sure that your conclusions are truly supported by what you're showing, but what you are presenting. After submitting abstract, can we send the poster? No. You can start working on the preparation of your poster, but the poster must be printed and brought to the conference to hang it on the poster board and thus be present also for the poster presentation session.
There was also a related question to that. If the abstract is accepted, does the author need to create a poster? Yes.
Yes.
So you need to create a poster,
Yeah.
and then, as Andre said, print it and bring it to the Congress.
And I think, Melinda, if I'm correct, we will also provide some guidelines and further
Yes.
info for the preparation of the poster.
Correct. I was going to say you're definitely not completely on your own by creating that poster. So there are very precise guidelines and tips, and also some advice on how to create a good poster. So we would certainly help you with that. Once you're notified of your status, and if you're accepted, the closer we get to the date of the Congress, you will receive those those details and guidelines, very detailed ones.
Yeah, thank you. There is a question I'm not sure I fully understand. So if my institution or my working institution does not contain ID, even though could I present a paper? I think you can definitely submit an abstract. You have to provide your contact details, name, surname, and the name of your institution of where your affiliation or where you're working, basically. But I'm not sure what is meant by it does not contain ID. So I don't know if I answered the question, or else maybe you can rephrase the question.
I can
So
maybe
it's-
talk about the one, I have one person I see that is asking, with decisions only being made in January, is registration required before submission or only once you have been accepted? Obviously, we believe that the EFIC Congress is a very valuable opportunity for you to attend, whether or not you're about to present a poster. So you can definitely, you can certainly register now. There's actually the early registration deadline that is coming up on the 15th of November. So if you want to make use of the best possible rates, then you would register before that day. But you don't have to register before you know about your status. You could certainly wait, but if you want to make use of the best possible rates, now would be the time.
And then it's asked that you are registered, I think, basically before. So when is it? Well, before the Congress. Yeah, but
Yes, I think there's a bit of a deadline, maybe 3 weeks or a month before the
Yeah.
Congress. We ask you to have your registration settled, just because, as Andre pointed out, only those who are officially registered to the Congress, only those posters will be displayed, and it's quite important for us so that we know the structure and layout of the poster presentation hall. We want you to have the best possible space and the best opportunity to actually present your research.
Yeah. And so the standard rate, that is until March. So that means that you still have time to register at the standard rate, not yet the late rate, after receiving the notification. And for students, trainees, fellows, the difference is not that strong between the two, between early bird and standard rates. So what is the acceptance rate of abstracts? The acceptance rate is actually quite high. Yeah, we mentioned, I think what's really important is the quality of the abstract in terms of clarity and in terms of structure and in terms of providing clear information on the methods and the results that were obtained, and also ensuring that your discussion conclusion is actually supported by your results. Those are, I think, really the key things. It's not about the significance of the findings. How significant are these? Is this really a breakthrough result? This is not how the selection is made. So for that reason, the acceptance rate is actually quite high. I think the rejection is around 10%, something like that, I would say. So yeah, that gives you maybe an idea then of the acceptance rate. Yeah, case reports, got it. Can we present an abstract suggesting a new view algorithm on a known condition, like looking on a known symptom with the scope of the ISP's pain mechanisms? Yeah, there should be some data, let's say, some results to show, I think. So it should go, there should be a methodology or some data or some results, I think, to answer that question. I don't know if Sabrina and Madeleine want to add something on that, since through their past experience of the previous review.
Yeah, I think what I would argue, it's important to see that the work is really somehow, yeah, filling a gap in the literature. There's something new coming out of it, something valuable, something people should take away from that. And yeah, I agree that for me there is always some kinds of results associated with this gap, but maybe you're surprising me, and this just displaying something in a very, very different way. But I would agree with Andre. So if you want to fill a gap, there needs to be something there that fills the gap, right? And most likely these are results.
Yeah, exactly. And also make sure to transport the message. Why does it need this new view? Because why can't we use the old standard version then? If you point that out and make it exciting, I think it should be fine.
Then we have, could we submit an abstract describing action research for founding a public multidisciplinary clinic, qualitative research? I think it relates a bit to what we just said. Again, it's so will you be filling a gap? Will there be information that is of interest for the entire community? I think those are questions that maybe you need to try to answer. But I think it's definitely conceivable, but you have to frame it in such a way that it will be of interest for the people attending the conference. So beyond the specific persons that are involved in the founding of this multidisciplinary clinic. So if you think that what you could present in terms of outcome or in terms of could be of interest for other healthcare professionals that are trying to develop similar things, then I think it would be okay. But it's important to make it clear what you will bring, so what it will provide to the attendees.
Wonderful. I think you've answered all the questions. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who attended. I hope it helped you a little bit, bring a bit of light into the whole process and how it works, and it gave you the option and the opportunity to ask some questions. You have 18 more days to submit your late-breaking abstract, so there's plenty of time especially if you enjoy working under pressure. That time starts now. There's plenty of information on our website. Feel free to reach out to us directly if you have any questions at all. We're always happy to help, and we hope to see you in Lyon in April 2025. Thanks for everyone who attended, and thank you to the speakers for taking the time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Can I just add one short thing?
Of course.
Actually, if you're wondering whether it fits or it doesn't fit, what can be useful for you is to actually look at the abstract book of the 2023 Congress, because there you can see the kind of content that was presented at that conference, and that can be useful, especially in cases where what you're presenting maybe you're not sure whether it completely fits with with our explanations of what we expect in an abstract in a poster.
That's a very, very helpful point. Thank you, Andre. I also see a final question about whether this video can be watched. Again, yes, it will be recorded and it will be added to our website and also our YouTube channel today or tomorrow. So you can definitely watch it again and go back. Excellent. Thank you so much to everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.